Hello and welcome to another video. So today I want to talk about whether weightlifting is effective for burning fat. This is just going to be a quick video explaining how to effectively weight train and whether this is effective for losing fat. So let's get into it. So first of all, I just want to say that weightlifting, especially as a female, will not make you bulky. I've been seriously weight training for about a year now, and I am not bulky. I'll put up some pictures so you can see just what I look like, but I am not bulky at all. In fact, I'd like to gain more muscle. Ultimately, weightlifting is going to give you more of a toned, which isn't really a real word, but a leaner physique, and it is going to give you more of an athletic appearance. It's not like you're going to lift weights for a month and suddenly become like Arnold Schwarzenegger, because one, Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't natural, and two, it took him multiple years to get to where he was. So trust me, if you lift for a month and you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, give me a call. Tell me what you did, because I want to know. And I'm pretty sure everyone else would want to know too. So weightlifting is a very long-term process, and yeah, when you first start out, you're gonna get newbie gains, but those newbie gains are not oh my god, shut up! Those newbie gains are not going to be so significant that you're bulky. They're going to give you more of an athletic appearance, like I said. As you gain muscle, your metabolism is going to increase. The thing to note is that when you're weight training, you're burning calories, maybe not as much as if you were to do cardio in that session, but because you're breaking down muscle tissue, your body needs more energy to build that tissue back up. And so it's going to utilize more calories to repair the muscle, and it's also going to increase your metabolism long term, because the more muscle you have, the more calories you can burn. Even though that number is not extremely high, in the long term, if you gain like 10-20 pounds of muscle, which may sound like a lot, but it really isn't, your body will utilize more energy in order to maintain that muscle, because your muscle contains more mitochondria, and those mitochondria need more ATP, or energy, to function. Also, if you're eating in a slight deficit, what's going to happen is your body is going to utilize those fat stores for energy. So what's going to happen is body recomposition. So that is when your body is removing fat stores and increasing your muscle mass at the same exact time. Like, for my experience, I was eating in a pretty severe calorie deficit, but I was still gaining muscle. So even though I was eating in over a 500 calorie deficit, like at the end of the day, I was still gaining some muscle, probably not as much muscle as if I didn't eat in such a drastic calorie deficit, but I did gain muscle. And so it is possible, if you're just starting out, to do that. Even if you're more of an intermediate, that can still happen. I just wouldn't go in such a drastic calorie deficit. But yeah, but if you're in about an 100 to 250 calorie deficit, like, you can still build muscle, probably even more than that. And what's going to happen is you're going to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. So if you want to lose fat weightlifting, there are a few things that you need to take into consideration. One is your level of fitness and how much fat you have to lose. So if you are extremely new to fitness or weightlifting and you have a significant amount of fat to lose, then I would recommend circuit training. So this is my dog. Shut up. You're going to be using weights, but you're also going to be doing plyometrics interspersed with some cardio. So this is just, again, a suggestion, but I find that if you have a significant amount of weight to lose, this is great, because it's going to include both cardio and it's going to get you stronger. And because you're new to weightlifting, like, you can literally lift up a twig and you would probably gain some muscle. So using even lighter weights is going to get you a little bit more muscle, just because you're new and your body is going to adapt to the new stimulus. So for instance, when I started weightlifting, I had quite a bit of weight to lose, and I did CrossFit. So CrossFit is basically it kind of utilizes Olympic weightlifting. Well, my CrossFit gym specifically. I don't know about like other styles of training that other gyms might do, but my CrossFit gym utilized Olympic weightlifting movements. So things like cleans, snatches, clean and jerks, that kind of stuff. So, and we also did like front squats, deadlifts, back squats. We did, not too often, but we did bench presses. So compound movements and Olympic weightlifting movements. But we also focused on cardio movements, and we did that in a circuit. So for instance, we would start the day with some type of warm-up. So that might have been, and that was also usually in a circuit, so it was maybe 200 skips with a jump rope and a 500-meter row. So we would just go back to back for like 3 rounds, and honestly for me that was the workout, but that was our warm-up. And then we would go into some type of strength training. So usually in our gym we focused on strength, so we might have did an EMOM, so every minute on the minute we did a 1-rep squat or 2-rep deadlift. So it really wasn't very taxing on the cardio system, so that was my favorite part because it was a lot more chill. But then after that we did the circuit style training, and that was like the bulk of our CrossFit training. So we would maybe do something like a 200-meter row, 20 step-ups, 15 wall balls, or we would do something like 20 wall balls, then 15, then 10, then 5, and kind of like do circuits that way. And then we would also intersperse like different barbell movements. So within that circuit, we might do 15 deadlifts. So basically, it was a combination of weight training and cardiovascular training that got me initial gains. And I actually gained a significant amount of muscle in my legs. I utilized like lunges, pulsing squats, box jumps, curtsy lunges, things like that. Like that allowed me to gain a significant amount of muscle in my legs. And really that was just because I was new to these movements and new to weightlifting. So I don't train like this really anymore, just because I lost the weight, and I prefer to train more of a strength hypertrophy program, which I will get into in a second. Ultimately, whatever style of training you choose to do is going to be based on your preference, but I personally like to change it up. So even though I do a strength and hypertrophy program, about once a week I will throw in a CrossFit style day, so something like I did in the past, just to kind of like keep my cardio endurance up and to increase my power and just overall make me a more functional athletic person. Because if you are just doing a bodybuilder type workout, your athletic abilities will suffer in terms of cardio if you don't prioritize that in addition to your weight training. So I like to throw it in sometimes. And so for me, just an example of what I might do, for instance, the last day I did dumbbell clean and presses and box jump downs in a ascending descending circuit. So what that means is I did 10 dumbbell clean and presses and then 1 box jump down, and then I did 9 dumbbell clean and presses and 2 box jump downs, and so on until I got to 10 box jump downs and 1 dumbbell clean and press. And then I did an EMOM, so I did 6 kettlebell swings and 6 burpees over the kettlebell, and then I repeated that. So every minute on the minute, that's what that means. So maybe it took me like a little over 30 seconds to do that, and then I would rest 30 seconds and then repeat. I also do different kinds of movements as well, so I might put some of those up on the screen. I do dumbbell snatches, plate clean presses, box jumps, like regular box jumps, 1-arm squat to press, things like that are just more functional movements that keep my body on its toes and just increases my cardio capabilities and my strength and my power. So if you don't have as much fat to lose, or you've been training for a little while, I still recommend throwing in some cardio movements, more functional movements sometimes, just to increase your athleticism. But I would recommend more of a traditional hypertrophy style program. I also throw in strength as well, so at the beginning of my workouts, I will focus on more compound movements like the squat or the deadlift. I'll focus on a lower rep range, so for deadlifts, I do sets of 3, and this just increases my strength. And as you gain strength, you will inevitably gain muscle as well. The strongest you are at any given time is when you have the most muscle. So as a result, you're just going to gain muscle from gaining strength. But then in addition to that, I do like more accessory movements like rows, RDLs, leg presses, bicep curls, tricep pushdowns, things like that. And those are also going to help you gain muscle. I'm just going to get into some weight training principles that you're going to want to apply if you're doing more of a hypertrophy or strength style program. So the first thing is that you're going to want to train each body part at least 2 times a week. I would say max 3 times a week. There's really no reason to train a body part more than 3 times a week because your body needs time to recover. So if you train legs 4 or 5 days a week, you're not going to see as much progress as if you only train 3 times a week, especially because your lifts aren't going to improve as much as if you took time off. Like if you squatted every day, your squat is not going to improve very much unless you're like very new. For each body part, you're going to want to do 10 to 20 sets per week. Studies, that's been what's shown to be most effective, but it really depends. So like for example, my hamstrings, I only do about 8 to 9 sets per week just because they get really sore. And I also target them with other types of movements like kickbacks. So they essentially are getting targeted without being the focus of that movement. So it really just depends on the types of movements you're doing and how your body's responding. If you're just starting out, I would definitely start at about 10 sets per each body part per week, and increasing if like you're not really feeling that sore or if you're feeling like you could do more and you have more energy. So it really just depends on how your body is responding. 10 to 20 sets per week is about the ideal, and within those sets, it also, how hard you go depends on how new you are to weightlifting. I would not go to failure, go easy, because when you're just starting out, you're going to be sore probably no matter what you do, and anything you do is really going to cause growth. So I would go very light, not so light that you don't really feel anything, but light enough where you're not pushing to absolute failure, and heavy enough where you are still getting a little bit of a challenge. Training for about a year, I would definitely start taking more of your sets to closer to failure, and the literature is conflicting on this. Some literature says you can stop 2 to 3 or 1 to 2 reps shy of failure, and that you can still gain the same amount of growth as if you stopped at failure. Personally, I go to failure a lot of the time because I just enjoy doing that. I don't know, I guess when I started at CrossFit, I kind of had this mentality that you go balls to the wall, so that's just kind of what I do in my weightlifting sessions, but it really just depends on you, whether your body is sore afterwards, how your recovery is, and the more you go to failure, the more time you definitely want to take those rest days seriously. Just starting out, you're going to want to focus on technique and form first. So rather than trying to focus on like progressing and the weight you're using, focus on the form, focus on where you're feeling the contraction the most and what positioning of your body is getting you the most mind-muscle connection. And once you get that down, then you can start focusing on progressive overload. So progressive overload is one of the main principles of bodybuilding or just gaining muscle in general, and it is when over time you're increasing weight to whatever movement that you're doing. So if I squatted, 150 for 5 this week, then next week I'm going to want to try to do either 150 for 6 or 155 for 5, or I can slow down the movement. So there's a lot of different ways that you can progressively overload, but ultimately you're just going to want to make it more and more challenging each time. I can also add pauses to the bottom, so really just however you're making it more challenging for yourself, you just want to make sure that over time you are progressively making it more and more challenging for yourself. If you stay at the same weight for a month, your body is not going to really want to grow, because your body needs stimulus to grow. And if you're providing your body the same stimulus, then it's not going to have enough reason to adapt. But if you constantly provide your body with more and more stimulus, then your body has no choice but to adapt. I just wanted to quickly add that if you're not sure which movements are most effective, to just look up on YouTube most effective body part for whatever it is that you want to target, and you'll get some really good results. I recommend looking up Greg Doucette because he has a series on the best and the worst exercises for each body part. But ultimately, it's best to just experiment and see which movements give you, like I said, the most mind-muscle connection. See what works best for you. If you feel sore the next day, that's a good sign that it might be a good movement for you. Just make sure to go light at first and progress from there. So if you're not sure where to start, just look it up on YouTube and give it a try. Make sure you perfect the form first before you really focus on adding weight. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. If you're interested in learning more about strength training and hypertrophy training, I definitely recommend subscribing because I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on this in the future. And if there's anything you specifically want to know, then leave a comment below and tell me what you're interested in seeing. Subscribe if you are interested in more content, and like the video if you found these tips helpful, and I will see you in the next video.